Have you ever wondered why you constantly doubt yourself? Why you overthink every decision, apologize for things that aren't your fault, or feel responsible for everyone's emotions? You might think that's just your personality, but what if it's not? What if it's something you learned, not something you were born with? According to psychologists, there's one powerful sign that you were raised by a narcissistic parent, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Growing up with a narcissistic parent doesn't always look like the movies. It's not always screaming or violence or visible neglect. Sometimes it's quiet. It's in the way you were made to believe that love must be earned. It's in how your feelings were treated as less important than their image. Narcissistic parents don't raise children. They raise reflections of themselves. They don't see you as an individual. They see you as an extension of their ego. The number one sign you were raised by a narcissist is you learn to make yourself small to keep others comfortable. You learn to silence your emotions to keep the peace. You became hyper-aware of other people's moods because your safety depended on it. You learned to read the room before you could even read a book. That constant self-monitoring, that emotional scanning, it's not normal. It's survival. As a child, you learned that love was conditional. When you pleased them, you were praised. When you disappointed them, even slightly, you were punished, not always with words, but with withdrawal, guilt, and or shame. Narcissistic parents don't just control your behavior, they shape your reality. They make you believe that their happiness is your responsibility. And so you grow up believing that your worth depends on how others feel about you. You might remember moments where you achieved something big. Maybe you got good grades, won an award, or simply tried your best, and instead of pride, they found a way to make it about themselves. Maybe Hey said, well, you should thank me for pushing you, or I was even better at your age. Every victory was theirs and every failure was yours. You learned that no matter what you did, it was never enough. And here's the heartbreaking part. As you grew older, you carried that belief into your adult life. You became the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who tries to make everyone happy, even at your own expense. You say sorry too often, you over-explain, you second-guess every decision. You feel guilty when you set boundaries, because deep down, you fear that if you stop pleasing, people will stop loving. That fear didn't start in adulthood, it started in childhood. Children of narcissists grow up in emotional confusion. You might have been told, you're too sensitive when you cried, or stop being dramatic when you expressed pain. You learn to hide your feelings because they made your parent uncomfortable. So now, as an adult, when someone asks how you feel, you don't even know. You've been so conditioned to focus on others that you've lost touch with yourself. Psychologists call this hypervigilance, being constantly alert to others' emotions, anticipating their reactions, avoiding conflict at all costs. It's not empathy, it's fear disguised as kindness. It's the brain's way of saying, stay small, stay safe. And while it protected you as a child, it's exhausting you now. Narcissistic parents often use love as a weapon. They give it and take it away to control you. One day, you're the perfect child. The next day, you're a disappointment. You never knew which version of your parent you were going to get. That uncertainty trained your nervous system to live in constant anxiety. And that's why today, even in safe relationships, you sometimes wait for rejection that never comes. You might find yourself attracted to people who remind you of your parent, emotionally unavailable, critical, or controlling, not because you enjoy pain, but because it feels familiar. The chaos of a narcissistic home becomes your comfort zone. You mistake unpredictability for passion, manipulation for care, and control for love. But here's the truth that can change everything. What happened to you was never your fault. You were a child trying to survive in an emotional battlefield. You adapted the only way you knew how. You became what they needed, not who you truly are. That's not weakness, that's strength. You were wired for survival, not freedom. But now, as an adult, you get to choose differently. Healing begins when you stop apologizing for existing, when you realize that your needs are not burdens, that you don't have to earn rest, love, or peace. You've spent years shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's comfort. It's time to expand into your own. Imagine the moment you stop explaining yourself to people who never listen, the moment you stop seeking validation from those who only take, the moment you look in the mirror and say, I am enough, even if no one else says it. That's the start of breaking the cycle. And yes, it's not easy. You'll feel guilty at first. You'll feel selfish, because for the first time, you're doing what your inner child always wanted, protecting yourself. You'll start setting boundaries. You'll start saying no. You'll lose some people, but you'll gain yourself. And that's a trade worth making. The voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, that's not your voice. That's the echo of your parents' insecurity. Narcissists project their flaws onto their children because they can't face their own. Every time they made you feel unworthy, they were really speaking to themselves. Once you see that, you stop taking it personally. Healing from a narcissistic upbringing is about unlearning. Unlearning that love equals control. Unlearning that silence equals peace. Unlearning that pleasing others keeps you safe. You start realizing that real love doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't punish honesty. It doesn't make you feel small. Real love feels calm. It feels safe. It feels like home, not a battlefield. So if you recognize yourself in these words, you're not broken. You're healing from a kind of parenting that never should have happened. You're learning to reparent yourself, to give yourself the love, validation, and care you never received. And that's brave, that's powerful. The number one sign you were raised by a narcissist isn't just that you had a difficult parent. It's that you learned to disconnect from yourself to survive. You learned to abandon your own needs just to keep love close. But now, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You never did. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not a burden. You are simply someone who was never given permission to be fully human. But now, you can give that permission to yourself. So take a deep breath. You've spent your whole life making others comfortable. It's time to make peace with yourself. The child in you deserves safety. The adult in you deserves freedom. And the next time someone tries to make you feel guilty for setting boundaries, remember, love built on fear isn't love. It's control. You didn't choose your parents, but you can choose your healing. And that choice, that quiet decision to stop repeating their cycle, is the most powerful thing you'll ever do.